Welcome to Better Relationships, Better Life, where relationships expert Judy K. Herman and her guests share insights that can help you move through conflicts in your 9-to-5 jobs and your 24/7 lives. Crack the clarity code and create deeper connections beyond the messiness of relationships. Here's your host, Judy K. Herman.
3 ways to be authentic in a difficult relationship. Years ago, I had a client come to my office. I really felt for her. She was telling me some details about the difficult people in her life, not just at work, but at home as well. But she also said to me, Judy, I just dread the holidays. And it was actually about this time of year. She said, I wish we could just go into January and forget all of the hoopla of the family gathering together. She was dreading the family gatherings. You might be dreading family gatherings as well. You might even be living with a difficult person day in and day out. But I want to give you some hope because, in my opinion, we can encounter at least one difficult person just about every season of our lives. But how to get through that, how to show up authentic. First of all, I need to let you know the definition of authentic. You might have a different definition than me, but this is how I see what authenticity means. I know that's a buzzword. It kind of is thrown around a bunch. But first of all, it doesn't mean to be rude or having no filters and no regard for other people and yourself. But in my opinion, authenticity or being authentic, being your authentic self simply means being in tune with your true self and being able to be grounded in the present moment. If somebody does offend you, you might feel that gut punch and you might say out loud, ooh, that felt like a gut punch, what you just said. That's just an example. But here's some other definitions. You're true to your personality, values, and spirit, regardless of the pressures that you're under to act otherwise. So now that we've got that definition in place, how to be authentic in a difficult relationship, and you might need this as you get prepared for family gatherings coming up. Number 1, choose to value yourself and realize that you are a human being who sometimes suffers and sometimes feels great. You can choose your outlook and how you want to show up. Remember, in any kind of relationship, whether that's a relationship with a difficult person or somebody who's easy to get along with, you have a part in that. It's kind of a relationship dance, as I talk about in my book, Beyond Messy Relationships, where you can actually define some of the dances of your relationships. Number 2, so first of all, value yourself. Number 2, choose to value that difficult person. They also share the same humanity. They suffer sometimes just like you do, and they sometimes feel great like you do. And they also can choose their outlook and how they show up. So here's what I believe about relationships. Having 40 years of marital relationships, 2 separate husbands, not at the same time. My former husband, second husband, dealt with severe mental illness. I'm very now aware of the delusions that we can sometimes have as human beings. But as I see relationships, what they actually do, good, bad, and ugly ones, they show us our blind spots. And some relationships can be like a flat mirror, like I talk about them being mirrors. Like this mirror here, I've got a mirror here that is a flat on one side and concave on the other. And some people are like mirrors to us, and they show us what our blind spots are accurately. And some people are like mirrors, and it's instead of being like a flat mirror, they will be like the kind of mirrors that you see in an amusement park where you look in it and your body is all distorted. So whatever that difficult person is showing you, realize there's a part of you that may be blinded to something that they are actually capitalizing on in your life. So it's good to be aware of that and ask yourself, what is the energy that's going on inside of me that's keeping this angst and this energy going on with this other person? So that's number 2. Number 1 is valuing yourself. 2 is valuing the difficult person and that they may actually be mirrors to you. And number 3 is choose to stay close to reality. Now, realize, even though we know this in our heads, subconsciously we may be doing this and not even know it, but we cannot control the behaviors, the attitudes, the thoughts, the opinions, the moods of another human being. But you can control yours. So we need to get out of the delusion, choose to stay into the reality, because you can make choices. You can choose, if you're going into a situation where you anticipate it being difficult, you can choose ahead of time to even imagine that situation being a good one, that everybody's in a good mood. You can imagine that. That is your God-given imagination. And then you will carry a different energy into the room. You can choose to smile and engage with another person who may not be smiling back at you. You can choose to acknowledge them and not engage, maybe keep your distance. You can choose to use your imagination, even using some analogies. So what I've done in encouraging people, and even thinking of it myself, is just thinking of yourself in this bubble of protection. And when you walk into a situation or in the room with another difficult person, that whatever they throw at you doesn't bother you because you're in this protective bubble. Now, years ago, I read Jan Silvius's book called Foolproofing Your Life. And she talked about an analogy of imagining yourself in the castle, being a princess in this castle, and there's a moat around the castle. And there may be angry people on the other side of that, but they can't get to you unless you put your drawbridge down. And so you have control over whether that person comes in or not. And we're talking about whether or not they're going to affect you emotionally. So you can choose and develop some strategies and imaginations that are going to help you when you are in a difficult situation or with that difficult person, and you can show up your authentic self. Have you seen a theme here with all 3 of these things? The 3 ways to be authentic in a difficult relationship. Did you see the theme? Choose. Here's the thing. We choose every single day, every single minute, multiple times a day. We choose our thoughts, and we can choose. So we can choose to value ourselves. We can choose to value that difficult person, and we can choose to stay in reality. I have more about this actually in my book. And although it's a very intense and dramatic story of my life. Most therapists who write books will write about the intense and dramatic stories of their clients, but not themselves. And I am a client in my own book, but I give you at the beginning of each of the chapters some insights, psychological insights and spiritual wisdom based upon my perspective as a therapist. And it is endorsed by some important people. So I'd love for you to get a copy. But I do share about sometimes we can be Pollyanna in our thinking or overly positive. And on page 215, I wrote, although our positive thinking can get us through hard times, it's vital not to be caught up in being too overly optimistic. Rather than ignore issues, we also must face brutal facts to recognize divine invitations to our authentic selves. Now, I'm sharing some strategies and things that you can do with a difficult person, maintaining your own authenticity. But I know there's some situations that are really could be very toxic in ways, and you don't even need to be there in their presence. And so across the board, there's all kinds of situations, but I do believe that if you choose these 3 things, you choose to value yourself and even value what that difficult person may be, the reason that they're in your life for the time that they are, that's going to help. That's going to help a bunch. So, yes, choose to stay in reality. And I want to encourage you because the holidays are coming up, at least here in the US. We're getting ready to celebrate Thanksgiving. I know they do it different times in other places. So, and then holidays coming up after that and opportunities to be with family. So, if you need help with that, please don't hesitate to reach out and contact me, judycounselor.com. And then also, if you would like for me to help you in your organization and leaders develop authenticity and emotional safety, psychological safety in the environment, you can go to judyspeaker.com and ask further about that. But here's what I'd love for you to do is revisit some of these episodes. In episode 31, Jeff Crawl talked about aligning your best self in relationships and business. I think this definitely goes along with what I'm talking about how to deal with difficult people and also acknowledging your authentic self. And then number 33, episode 33, Wendy and Bob Anderson talked about redefining normal as they are raising a couple of very difficult family situations with special needs children. And then also episode 36, Jude Walsh talked about post-divorce bliss and developing new traditions. So I would encourage you to go back and listen. So here's your next steps. You can go to my website, take the relationship stress quiz, and on every page of the website, judycounselor.com, you will find the Ask Judy tab. Please leave me some questions, and I would be glad to address some issues in upcoming episodes. And if you're interested in knowing more about how I can support you and your organizations, don't hesitate. Reach out to me on LinkedIn, Judy K. Herman, or judyspeaker.com. And I do want to say a special thanks to Market Domination, who's producing this podcast and my next book coming out based upon the content of Better Relationships, Better Life. So I look forward to connecting with you and hope that these items, these choices that you're aware of is going to help you and as the time goes on with your family. All right. In the meantime, please share, rate, comment in the streaming platform of your choice. And I will see you next time on Better Relationships, Better Life.